All right. So, what will likely be happening in more of this content is these mukbang style videos, because there's just so many ways to directly point as best as possible to no thing, everythinging. And it's a bit overwhelming how many ways there are to point to it. And so instead of doing single episodes on a single pointing, like wholeness or freedom or unknowing, there will be compilation episodes like you see here, where we're going to go over a bunch of different pointings all in a single stream, in a single episode. So we're going to call these mukbangs. So so buckle in for these, because these will probably be coming up more often also. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with entity impossible. So that's a very direct pointing that the center point, the me separation, is impossible. It's impossible for there to be an entity. Because if there's an entity, then that's duality. If there's a me, if there's a center point, that means there's an other. And if there's an other, that means it's two. And if it's two, that means it's not one, obviously. So, so when the entity is clearly seen to be impossible by nothing, then it's clearly seen that there's only nothing, everythinging. And it's not known, it's unknowing everythinging, non-local everythinging. Entity impossible. So it's impossible to actually form a me. It's impossible to actually form a center point. It's impossible for something that's impossible to happen. Now, there can be the illusory, contracted experience of there being a me and separation, and all of the downstream effects of war and violence and hatred and whatnot from that. A very strong knowing cloud. But it's impossible for it to actually be the reality. So it's just an appearance. It's just an illusory, apparent happening. It's not actually the case. Actually, the case is that it's an impossibility for entities to be the case. The reality is the impossibility for entities to be the case. Now, there are apparent bodies, and those apparent bodies have certain conditioned preferences. So there's certain things that there is the body that likes to do. Certain bodies like to be out in nature more. Certain bodies like to eat certain kinds of foods. But those aren't entities. Those aren't separate entities. There's no one behind the eyes of the bodies. There's no one behind the eyes of the bodies. So behind the eyes of all bodies is nothing. Non-local freedom and unconditional love, isnessing. And so when an entity is impossible, it's obviously seen that there's only isnessing, and therefore all of these contracted, illusory me, other, war, separation, hatred, all those things crumble and fall apart, and what's left is just Taoing, decentralizing basic needs infrastructures, love, joy, freedom, prosperity, abundance, music, dance, comedy, laughter, play, all of the innocent things that children and animals have that are lost in the dualistic world of a contracted adult that's either seeking or lacking or believing in separation with its strong knowing cloud. So this is a very beautiful one. Entity impossible. And then we have unachievable non-separation. So what this is saying is that non-separation is always the case, and therefore it's unachievable. So non-locality or non-separation is always the case, or non-entityness is always the case. It's not something that can be achieved. Non-separation, non-entityness, non-locality is not an achievement because it's always the case. So it's always what's already here. That's why it's unachievable. You see, so the contracted experience of me, which is wholeness or no-thingness appearing as that, it wants an achievement of attaining non-separation. It wants an achievement of attaining enlightenment or awakening, but it's not possible because it's literally what is, which is already death. It's already non-locality. It's already unconditional love and freedom that is in that seeking of itself. That's why it's unachievable. It's unattainable. It's another way to say it. Unattainable non-separation. It's unattainable. It's unachievable. It's never going to happen. It's hopeless. 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 It's never going to happen. Because it's already not. There is already no separation. There is already only non-locality and non-entity, everythinging. There is only unknowing, no thinging. There is only that-ness-ing. There's only that. There's already no entity. There's already no separation. That's why it's unachievable. It's unattainable. It's never going to happen. It's never going to be earned. It's never going to be attained. It's never going to be an achievement. And that's why it's absolutely futile to talk about a me that's on a transformative journey. It's absolutely futile to brag about accolades or achievements or attainments on a spiritual journey because there's already no entity. There's already no separation. It's literally freedom or no thing that is bragging about something, attainments that are not actually happening. All right, so now we'll go into the simple vacancy. Another word that I had here was extreme. It's like an extreme vacancy, but it's also a very simple vacancy. So it's obviously not occupied. This is not occupied by an entity. Bodies are not occupied by entities. They're not occupied by me's. They're vacant. Bodies are vacancies. There's only vacancy in all bodies. It's vacancy that is isnessing. And it's quite extreme in the sense that it's very simple and ordinary, but it's extreme in the sense of it does not give any concession to there being a duality. It does not give any concession to there not being a vacancy. It does not give any concession to there being the real experience of a body being occupied by an entity. And that's what pisses the fuck out of me. Because it can't get a validation of its dualistic journey. And therefore, if there's a ripeness, if there's an openness, if there's the no thingness that is truly in unknowing, it will, that contracted me-ness that is trying to grasp and attain, it'll relax into the non-entityness that already is. So it is a simple vacancy. The vacancy is everywhere. The vacancy is in all babies. All babies are vacant. All dying, old age bodies are vacant, and animals are vacant. They're absolutely vacant. There's no entity inside. We just add a name or a label, and then we create the artificial constructs of separation. But there is no name or label. There is no entity inside. There's never been an entity inside. It's not possible for there to be an entity inside. It is always a simple vacancy. Simply vacant. Simply vacant. It's another great way to say it. Simply vacant. Simply empty. Simply whole. Already free. Unconditional love. Isnessing. It's already that. It's already non-local. There's already no distance, no separation, no time, no space between what appears to be the different bodies. There's already no difference, no time, no space between the apparent differing bodies. They're all the same. They're all the same, no thing, everythinging. That's what this is. And it's absolutely unknowable. It's absolutely ineffable. But it's so simple and ordinary. It's too simple and ordinary. Saying vacancy is so simple and ordinary because it's literally what's happening as everything already. So the animals are already vacant. The babies are already vacant. Old bodies that are passing are already vacant. It's all already vacant. There's only that contracted experience of me that is located inside of a body that is separate and must attain. That is the only, within boundlessness, within this unconditional love of non-entityness, that is the only place for there to be an occupation, the appearance, the experience of an apparent occupation. It's mind-fucking and mind-blowing that that's even possible. In something that is obviously non-entityness, something that is obviously vacant, in something that is obviously vacant and empty, there can be the appearance of an experience of an entity that is occupying a body. And that is fucking mind-blowing. Crazy. And so another way to say this is that there is no you. This is also very simple. No you. There isn't a you. There isn't a me. There isn't a we. There isn't a they. There isn't an I. All of those things collapse because they're not there. There is only the vacant, non-entity, non-locality, wholeness. There is only that. There is only that. And it can freely appear as a contracted sense of separate me. It can freely appear as a you. I am real, I am name, I am located in body, I am seeking, I must attain, I am unwhole, I am unworthy, I need to earn validation. It's so suffering. So suffering. That whole function of meing is suffering. And it's already not happening. There is already no me. There is already no you. There is only that non-entity, non-localityness that is. There's only wholeness that is. And it's obvious when that's seen by nothing that the me was a complete illusion and fabrication and totally unreal, total dream, that then all of this dowing, this home dowing, this decentralized autonomous organizations around the prosperity and abundance and freedom of basic needs, joy, play, all of these incredible things that innocent children love, it's proliferated across all of the apparent earthscape. So everything that is sought cannot be attained by me because it already is in its empty wholeness. And from that empty wholeness, from that clear no-thinging, dowing, is perfectly harmonious. So let's see. Boundless and boxless. This one is also obvious. So, yes, just replying in the live chat. Thanks for tuning in. Totally. It's unconditional love. Speaking of unconditional love, as unconditional love, within unconditional love. Absolutely. Everything that is said, everything that is heard is all unconditional love. Yes, it's all no thing. It's all that already. It's all that already. There's nowhere to go from that. There's nowhere to go from what's already no thing, everything. There's nowhere to go from unconditional love being these words that are said, that are heard. That's it. That's it. There's nowhere to go from that. That's it. But it's the end of the illusion of the separate individual. It's the end of the illusion of a lacking me in a world of separate others. And me is convinced that it can't give that up because it can find fulfillment. It can find wholeness. It can attain a permanent happiness and satisfaction through objects, through experiences, through whatever modalities of seeking and attaining. But it's absolutely futile and impossible. And so that's the hilarity of the cosmic joke. It's literally wholeness and fulfillment that is experiencing an illusory contraction that is seeking wholeness and fulfillment. Yeah. Love it. Okay, so we'll continue on this. So boundless and boxless. The fullness, another comment, the fullness of emptiness is there if I am not. Yes, exactly. It's all already empty and full and whole and beautiful and perfect. But when I am real, separate, solid, hard, seeking, dissatisfied, then all of the empty wholeness, fulfillment, perfection, beauty is all gone. It's all absolutely gone. It's so contracted and truly suffering. All right, boundless and boxless. So this one is obvious also. It's the inability to bound. It's the inability to box. This is no thing, everythinging. It's not possible to bound or box it. No thing, everythinging means not boxing, not bounding, boxless, boundless. And that wholeness appearing as that contracted experience of me, of I am real, I am here, and I know, that is all the time boxing and bounding. That lives in boxing and bounding. Everything is a box or a bound. Everything is about meaning. Everything is about how does this water bottle, how does this relate to my center point? Why is it so meaningful? All of these experiences that are happening to me, to this center point, are so meaningful. And each experience is a box. Each experience is an object. It's its own bound. And the bounds are my story, my life. I am real. I am solid. I am seeking. I am unwhole. I will tell you my endless stories and journey of transformation. Box, 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 bound, bound, bound. Listen to me, validate me. I want to be worthy. I am unworthy. And so that loops in a small, tiny, stinky little pond of selfing, of meing, that is all made of unknowing. It's made of already wholeness, of already no thingness. And so this boundless, this boxless is already the case. And so it's a ceasing of that obsession with boxing and bounding that is like a refrigerator hum of boxing and bounding. And that refrigerator hum of boxing and bounding is gone. And there's only boundless, boxless, obvious, empty wholeness, spontaneity. There's only that. Yeah. And there's no registrar. Also another very clean, direct pointing. There's no registrar because there's no me, there's no you, there's no center point, and therefore there's no shelf, there's no filing system, right? So that the illusion of there being someone inside that is grabbing boxes or files or bounds or concepts or ideas, grabbing them, making a big story of meaning out of them, and then storing them in some sort of mirage-like file system is a complete illusion. And this is great. There's a comment in the chat about DMT much. This is the classic thing, and it's been talked about on so many of these episodes and streams, is that this is actually the natural, spontaneous, empty wholeness. This is natural. And in the appearance of the natural is the illusion of the unnatural. And the unnatural is really the psychedelic experience of a center point. It's the psychedelic experience of a me. Everything that's being described here is the not to. So it's because it's ineffable. And so what is done is described what it's not. And what it's not is that illusory contracted center point. And that illusory contracted center point is absolutely the trippiest, most psychedelic thing imaginable. Something that is boundless, empty, whole, free, unconditional love without entity or location somehow psychedelically assumes entity, location, time, space, name, form, objects, lack, meaning. Something that is boundlessly free without any of those things assumes and contracts into the hilarity of those things. So, yeah, there are, and in the comments, there's comments about advancements in physics. Yeah, there's lots of advancements in physics that are onto the no-thingness. Yes, but it's unknowable, so it's not going to be known by an entity. It's just a pointing to no-thing everythinging, and it doesn't matter if that's. It's always already the case, and it doesn't matter if it's looked at through a lens of physics, or if it's looked at by no one through a lens of simple, ordinary, spontaneous infinity. It just doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. And this is always great because there's always sort of the asking, but how did the me unwind? How did it unwind? And there's no answer to that because A, it was never there, and B, it can unwind in endless apparent ways. Anything from just simply walking outside, being in nature, driving a car, eating a burger, meditating, psychedelics, books, looking at the eyes. It's like there's just too many it's non-causal is another way to say it. It's non-causal. The unwinding of me is a non-causal because it's non-existent. The me already isn't, therefore its unwinding is non-causal. Me is already non-existent, therefore its unwinding is non-causal. How does something that isn't have a cause of how it stops? It's not possible. A comment about Bernardo Kastrup. We've had Bernardo on the show. So it's just this is the thing. This is the thing. There will be endless pointings to, oh, have which physics or which spiritual teachers or which consciousness researchers or gurus or books or psychedelics or whatever. And all of that is simply the continuation of saying that this isn't it. And what is being shared here is that this is it. And even those pointings to teachers or researchers or gurus or books or psychedelics or retreats or whatever, that's all it too. So there's no escaping it. There's no moving closer to or further from it. It's already here. It's simply this. It's already only this. It's just too ordinary. The non-local empty wholeness that this is just too ordinary. And so it's always, but I'll get it in the next studying of the next knowledge, of the next knowing, of the next concepts, of the next experience. And it will never, ever happen because it already is the case. So it's not possible to happen because it's already the unconditional freedom itself. I'm not sure I've checked out the being and nothingness in the comments. Yeah. So this is really it. This is really it. There's nowhere to go from this. There's no way to suggest that there is an experience or that there is a book or that there is a way or a path to get or attain or read about or learn about what is already. There's no way to read or learn or know what this is. That's why it is the unknowing. It is the unknowing, the unlocality, the uncontractiveness, the wholeness, the emptiness, the no-thingness. And this registrar is a complete illusion. There's no entity inside. There's no controller or doer inside that is grabbing meaning in its bounds and boxes and ideas and concepts and sorting them and organizing them into a story of my life. That is not. It's a complete illusion. That is not. And that's the thing, is that there's nowhere to go from that. If there's no registrar, then this is all no thing everythinging. This is all always already that. And there's there's no way to grab onto anything. There's obviously no registrar, obviously. And that registrar is equivalent to me. It's equivalent to a center point. It's equivalent to that contraction in the body that wants to control and manipulate the appearance to fulfill its sense of lack for its desire for freedom and wholeness, which is already the case. What do you think about dukkha in the comments? So here's the thing, man. Suffering is seeking. Suffering is me-ing. Suffering is selfing. It's just too simple. This is already wholeness. It's already no thing, everythinging. And suffering is simply that appearance within wholeness that says, I am real. I am solid. I am name, I lack, I am separate, and I must seek wholeness, fulfillment, freedom. That's it's just too simple. It's too simple. It doesn't require all these elaborations and retreats and books and conceptual studies. Those things may appear to happen, and there's no value system if it's better to not study dukkha or if it's better to study dukkha. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no value system. There's no pathway. But the illusion is that by conceptually studying what dukkha or suffering or emptiness or unknowing or any of these things, by studying it, I will attain it, is a complete illusion, because it's already the case. It's already emptiness trying to learn trying to learn a concept or some sort of knowing that will then inform it about what it is, which is not possible because it's already the case. It can't learn about itself through addition. Yes. Just total love, total wow. It's really simple and easy, and that's why these last things are about completeness and a fresh new ising. So everything is fresh. Everything is new. Everything is complete. Everything is wow, like in the live chat. Everything is that. It's always, already, forever that. And it's never been not that. 1 second, just going to tell the community I'm recording 1 second because I can hear their voices. I'm just recording a bit. All good. Yeah, I got the sign up. Thank you. Okay. All right, just let them know. What do we got here? So, no way. All seeking is selfish and illusion. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's just too obvious that it's already. And so any trying to grab it or attain it or earn it is illusory. Yes. And the completeness of it is also absolutely beautiful. And that actually speaks perfectly to the completeness of it also, because it's already complete. It's just too obvious how complete it is. And it's not an attainment to earn completeness. It's that the completeness already is. And so it's naturally, spontaneously complete. The empty luminosity is always already complete. It's never an attainment, and nor is it ever obstructed. It's never actually obstructed. And so it's just complete. It's fresh. It's new. It's wow. It's ising. 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 And that's why it's non-dual. Because when it's ising, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to say, oh, okay, so then there is there's no difference between it being wholeness and it being the appearance of a contraction in the body that is lacking and seeking. There's no difference between those two things. Those two things are actually one thing. And so therefore there's just that ising. The elaborations or pointings of wholeness only or unknowing, those are just responses to the me that is believing in duality and then manipulating or controlling the appearance. And so then the body just naturally responds and just cuts that duality by saying that there's only wholeness. There is already no entity. The entity is already impossible. There is already no you. There is already no registrar. Non-separation is already unachievable. There's already a vacancy there. There's already only a vacancy everywhere. And yes, great comment there in the live chat. The dream of separation is IZZING, appearing as that. So there's no way to create a duality. It's impossible to create a duality. IZZING is always already, and IZZING is appearing as a dream of I'm separate, I'm real, I'm solid, I lack, I need, etc. There's no duality. It's so perfect, beautiful, indescribable, just like the most beautiful imaginable is this already. I'm excited to make more of these mukbangs because it's a good way to offload a larger amount of the ways to point to no-thing everythinging, and also it creates some fun spontaneity and bounciness between the pointings, and it continues to just cut and undermine the illusion of there actually being a you, of there actually being an entity, of there actually being a registrar, of there actually being the possibility of achieving non-separation. There's no way to achieve the freedom and unconditional love and wholeness and unknowing. There's no way to achieve it because it is already. It is already. There is already no entities anywhere, so it is impossible to achieve. There's already no separation anywhere. It is impossible to achieve. Empty wholeness is already everywhere. It is impossible to achieve. And so there is some sort of a readiness in that contracted sense of me, which can hear, which is this nothing that is hearing, and it's what that contracted sense of me is made of, and that unknowing, when it hears that there's no entity, there can be a relieving or an unwinding of that contracted delusion into the non-locality and unconditional love that everything already was. And then that the body's function, which was, oh my God, I lack, I need, that function is ceased. And then the function of the body is natural Taoing. It's basic needs, abundance, play. See, that's how that functionality can shift and change. And it's all made of the same IZZING, and it's just IZZING appearing as that illusory contraction. And it's just so beautiful when that illusory contraction is that no thing clearly sees that illusory contraction is a complete joke, and the entity is not. Whoa, look at these fireworks. Holy shit. That was the first time I saw that animation. That was fucking cool. Whoa. I wonder if this is happening in OBS. I need to look up if what the OBS animations are, because these things are great. There's been like balloons and confetti and a thumbs up and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, so there's a question in the chat about how often do you meditate, and did you meditate on the journey? So again, this will just reply and say that there's no causality. There's no causality that gets non-locality to be the reality. Non-locality, unconditional love and freedom is already this. It's already it. So it's not going to be elaborated on as a story of causality, of, oh yeah, this body went on, because it did go on apparent 10-day long silent meditation retreats, and it did apparently take psychedelics, and it did apparently read lots of books and sit with lots of teachers. And that's all just a story. It's just a story because it's already here now. This, obviously, unobscured. It's already no thing, everythinging. Oh yeah, Jason Reza Giorgiani. That was a good interview. Yeah, we'll see. Perhaps these some of these peeps that we've interviewed, perhaps they'll come through Austin, and if so, would love to sit down with them in person. We already have some guests scheduled for next week, which is very exciting. Woo woo, let's go. Yeah, I guess we'll see how all of this continues morphing. There's obviously lots of streams. And then there's interviews, and then there's these mukbangs that have more like combo of stuff. It's fascinating, actually. Yeah, that last one on separation porn was fascinating too. The question, would you interview Elon Musk? Absolutely, yeah. I just messaged, I did outreach to the SpaceX and Tesla offices just yesterday asking to interview Elon. So absolutely, I would. And same thing for Joe Rogan. I just messaged yesterday, and plenty of other comedians and all-stars and stuff around the area. Lex Friedman messaged him too. And it would be fun. It'd be really fun to sit down with. It feels most ripe and most ready now than ever to have the conversations with them about this. So, and it's really fascinating because a lot of them are interested in consciousness, but not as consciousness being no thing, everythinging. Not consciousness as a non-local unity, as a non-local no one, everyoneing. And that's sort of where the current in what's appearing to, what's seeming to happen, is that there's some sort of a in a way a resistance to mind or consciousness or awareness, which are just conceptual additions to the body. But there's sort of a resistance to those ideas being no thing, everythinging, which is of course that's also what was happening with this body too, is that there was a resistance to no thing, everythinging, because there was really a strong sense of me and center point and locality and lack. And the last thing that wants is its absence. But the reality is it's already absent. There's already no center point. There's already no me. There's already only a vacancy. There's already only an absence. This is just too easy, man. It's just a simple vacancy. It is a simple vacancy. Yes, would also interview RFK Jr. Yep. Yeah. The not to or non-duality is, in a way, can appear to be antithetical to politics, definitely, because, and that's what was discussed in the last episode on separation porn, is that politics is all about separation porn. It's all about me. It's all about my nation state. It's about my people. It's about my religion. It's about my ethnicity. It's about my military industrial complex. It's about manipulating, using social media and extremism to create hatred towards others. And it's just separation porn. Separation porn is is wholeness, separation porning. That's emptiness, separation porning. That's one way to describe the appearance. The intensity of the apparent geopolitical madness and separation porn is all unconditional love, separation porning. And it actually, in a way, it makes perfect sense, although it's complete unknowing, but it makes perfect sense in a way that unconditional freedom would arise as this insane apparent separation porn. Yeah. It's complete simplicity. Yes. No live chat. It's just complete simplicity. That's why another thing that this body has been doing is just like ruff, 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 meow. Meow. Because that's just utter simplicity. A seeker can't get something from woof, woof, ruff, 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 meow. They just can't get anything from that. Because it's too simple, empty, and ordinary, and the seeker can't extract any meaning from it. Yeah. A seeker is neurotic. Is just bouncing to more experience. All right, so what do we got here? We got this first mukbang, which was super fun. Loved it. We have Entity Impossible. Yeah. Such fun pointings. Entity Impossible. Unachievable Non-Separation. Aw, thanks for that comment. Yeah, Frank. Yeah, love him so much. Yeah, we'll have Frank back on, and we'll likely do some more content with him soon. Yeah, there's another comment about like Freud and Jung, and about these. This body has apparently studied the core of psychology and psychoanalysis and etc. And what's seen by no one is that all of that is just conceptual elaboration and conceptual fabrication and conceptual masturbation and ideological conceptual knowing. And it's just absolutely exhausted by nothing. Yeah, all of those narratives belong to me. Me lives in the narrative of psychology, psychoanalysis, neuroscience, therapy, experience seeking, expansions, trauma healing, etc. And it's all made of nothing. And so obviously, as it's seen by nothing, that all of that is an absolute conceptual masturbation. But that's very uncomfortable to me. Me thrives on its conceptual knowing. So for nothing to reflect back to me and say that all of these greatest minds that is being clung to is a complete conceptual masturbation is very annoyed. Because it's always been non-entityness. There is no Freud. There is no Musk. There is no you. There is no anyone. There's only non-entityness bodying. There's only wholeness. It's too simple. It's too ordinary. And me is too attached to names and a story over time. But it's just too simple and ordinary. There's never been entities. There's only been wholeness bodying. So non-separation is literally unachievable. It's unattainable because it's already the case. I love that one so much. No thingness is unattainable because it's already the case. Unknowing is already the case. Non-locality is already the case. It's absolutely unattainable. So all efforts to attain or to know or to achieve freedom or wholeness are absolutely futile. Absolutely futile. And again, it's a simple vacancy. It's way too simple. There's already no one home. It's a simple vacancy. There's no one home. There's no you. It's just emptiness, wholenessing. Emptiness, ising. It's only that. There's already no one home. There's no transformative journey that a separate me can go on to achieve non-separation and wholeness and freedom. It's really this boundless, boxless inability to contract, inability to box or bound or conceptually masturbate and elaborate. We'll get a little zoom out to the nips. It's been fun playing with the nips on the show. Nipple action. Yeah. Nipple action. Yeah. Nips. 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 Nip. Nipple. Nipple. Nip. Nip. Nipple. Nipple. Nip. Nip. Nipple. Nipple. Nips. Yeah. And you see me, or that contracted apparent energy in the body, it isn't free. It doesn't feel free. It feels like there's shame, like there's an inability to talk about genitals or to show genitals or to rub nipples or to or wanting to hide certain information. So there's just an absolute free flowingness from no thing, everything that is completely free. There's no straitjacketing, anything genitals, anything sex, anything about the story, anything that it has no defenses. It's just totally free flowed, no thing perfected. It's so good. There's a comment about a dog being guru. Yeah. The unconditional love of the dog, the non-entityness of the dog, the non-entityness of the cat, and the unconditional love and purring. That is obviously what is. It's just so obvious. There's no entity. It's just pureness. It's just innocence. It's unconditional love. And then there's another comment about children being closer to the realization. So again, just to be clear, this isn't a realization. It's not something that's realized by someone. Realization, in a way, is another way to say seeking. It's another way to say that this is not already no thing, everything. Realization is about later. Realization is about something that could happen if I'm a very good boy or a good girl that studies a lot. It's not a realization. It's a no thing clearly seeing that the me never was, that it never happened, that it was just an illusion. It was just a dream. It was just a masturbation. It's literally wholeness seeing that it was just me masturbation. It was just a me masturbation. And yes, children, in many ways, there's plenty of children that are not conditioned with separation and locality and somethingness. And so when a child is not conditioned with somethingness, then obviously there is a non-local, no-thing, everythinging, and it's very apparent in dogs and cats. Woof, woof, meow. So yeah, boundless, boxless, no registrar. Same thing as no you, no entity. Same thing as there is only a vacancy. Complete, fresh, new ising. Yeah. Fresh, new ising. Yum, yum, yum. All right. Well, that was a fun first mukbang here in Austin, and looking forward to more mukbangs. It's just a fun format to it. And thanks for joining in the live chat. That was a lot of fun, and probably be on again later today. We'll see. And it's just so simple. Home for no one. Yeah. You're welcome in the live chat, and thanks for watching, commenting. Yeah. Tao. This prosperous, joyful, playful, basic needs met, free bodies. Love it. Ooh, okay. All right. Mwah. Bye.